Everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point Shorts. And we are going to talk about this whole Jussie Smollett, the guy from who plays Jamal on Empire. If you haven't been following social media, following the news, you've been asleep under a rock, tuned out. Yesterday, a story came out that Jesse was out walking at 2 o'clock a.m. in Chicago and that he was attacked by two white men who were wearing the Make America Great Again hats, and that they attacked him, put a noose around his neck, they threw bleach on him or some other kind of chemical substance, and then they I guess one report said he had bruised ribs, and he somehow managed to make his way to the hospital where he was treated. So when I first read the story or heard the story, saw the headlines showing up on my Facebook timeline, I was like, what in the world? So, then I go over to Twitter, and so I'm reading the comments, and so it turned into, first it was like a racist attack, then it turned into, it was a homophobe attack. And so now you got all these warring causes, going at each other. So then you got the black people arguing, that, it was as much about race as it was about, homophobia. Don't discount the fact that he's a black man and he's gay. And so, I try to kind of stay away from these type of stories. Like I didn't talk about that Jasmine Elan story because when I read the story, initially read the story, it just didn't sound right to me. And it was the same thing with Jessie's story. It just didn't sound right to me. And so I'm going to read an actual article that came from the Chicago Sun-Times that pretty much disputes some of the things that people were saying on social media about what actually happened. And so if you read this report from the Chicago Sun-Times, you can go Google it yourself, you'll see how people just take stuff that they read and just sensationalize it and blow it all up and just, okay, I'm going to go ahead and read it and then I'll come back with my thoughts afterwards. So it says so it says an actor from the Fox series Empire was the target of an alleged racist and homophobic attack early Tuesday in Streeterville. Chicago police are investigating the brutal incident as a hate crime. Meanwhile, the FBI separately is looking into a letter threatening the actor sent a week ago to the offices of the television show. So the actor, 35-year-old Jussie Smollett, flew into Chicago from New York on Monday to continue filming the new series of Empire. Smollett went for a late night meal sometime after midnight at a Subway restaurant at 511 North McClure Court, police said. The actor was walking back to a nearby apartment about 2 a.m. Now, these times are important because if you're listening to social media, all this happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. But according to the police, he went to the Subway right after midnight. So we got almost a 2-hour time span going on here that people seem to be overlooking. So 2 a.m. when two people walked up to him in the 300 block of East North Lower Water Street yelling racist and homophobic slurs, Smollett told police. The alleged assailants made racially charged comments to the victim, implying that they knew he was a star from the show, police spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said. It's Gugielmi. Not sure how to pronounce that. They then hit him in the face, poured a substance suspected to be bleach on him, and put a rope around his neck, police said. Smollett initially was reluctant to call police because of the attention it would generate as a because he's a public figure. Google Millie said, but his manager eventually called at 2:42 a.m. about 40 minutes after the attack. When officers showed up at the apartment, the rope was still around Smollett's neck. Google me. So the police spokesperson, that's what we're going to go with going forward, described the rope as a thin, light rope. And he said that the rope didn't necessarily resemble a noose. Okay, so let's stick a pin there. So I'm thinking, and we don't know how we would react in any situation. I say that all the time. But I'm thinking that if somebody put a noose around my neck, the first thing I'm going to do is try to get the noose from around my neck. And definitely, if they run off, I'm going to take the noose from around my neck. And for him to be sitting there like almost an hour after this attack happened, when the police show up, and he's still sitting there with whatever this string, rope, whatever it is that was around his neck, to still be around his neck, I thought was kind of odd and kind of suspect. It seemed like the agent would have said to him, and then this was the other thing I wanted to say. It was freezing in Chicago. It was below zero in Chicago Monday night. And I think it was like when the news last went off, and I'll put the little news estimate of what the temperatures were going to be for the week up. And it said at midnight, I believe it was, that the low was going to be zero. But then you think when you get downtown and you get between those buildings, it feels even colder. So I'm thinking if he was out that time of night, or if anybody was out that time of night, they would have had on like a big heavy coat or jacket. They probably would have had scarves wrapped around their neck. They would have had something covering their mouth to keep the cold from coming in. They probably would have had a cap on their head. So if the person put a rope around his neck, whatever the rope was, whether it was like a skinny twig, if it was a thick piece of rope like nooses were made out of when they were out lynching people, whatever it was, they would have put it over his head, and it would have been on the coat, it would have been on the turtleneck, whatever he was wearing, it would have been over layered clothing. So when the police got to the apartment, was he still sitting there with all these clothes on, or are they trying to say that this rope was hanging, but he had taken his jacket and all this other stuff off? So that was kind of confusing to me. So then it goes on to say that Smollett asked officers to turn off their body cameras while interviewing him, which the spokesperson said is standard for many victims, especially when they're inside a home. They don't want, their personal space to be invaded. So we really don't get a feel for, like, if he said something extra to the police officer that's not in the report, like what was his body language, what was his attitude, what was his feeling, as he was having this conversation. So after taking Smollett's report, officers encouraged him to go to Northwestern Memorial Hospital for treatment to lacerations on his face and neck. And the spokesman said Smollett's manager took him to the hospital, and he was later released. Okay. Now, according to the social media reports, he was attacked on the street, somehow got up and made his way to the hospital. So we now learn that that was not true, because he actually didn't go to the hospital until, I'm thinking, probably like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, because it was 2:42 when they called the police. So the police had to get there, take his statement, and then encourage them to go to the hospital for treatment. So a whole lot of time doesn't pass by. So Smollett initially told police his attackers were two men wearing ski masks and all black clothing. In a follow-up interview in the morning, so after the police came the first time, they left. He went to the hospital. He was treated. He goes back to the agent's apartment. Then the police come back to do a follow-up interview, which means hours has passed. Smollett then tells detectives that the men also yelled, "This is MAGA country." And I'm thinking, who's going around yelling that? Is that something common that people are saying nowadays? Like, we know the whole "Make America Great Again" slogan, but are people really going around saying that this is MAGA country? So they said this after they attacked him, according to the spokesperson, and that Smollett didn't provide any other description of the men, including their race. Yet, the social media people, the outraged people, everything is a cause people, said that it was two white guys. They were wearing these MAGA hats. They was yelling these, this is MAGA country and all of this stuff, which, okay, let's go ahead on. So police also haven't found any video showing the attackers in the surrounding areas or any witnesses to the attack. So the spokesperson said police didn't have enough information as of Tuesday night to put out a description of the attackers. And that continues to be the case this morning, because I checked the Chicago Police Twitter page and they are still begging people to come forward and to share any video that they may have. So the block where the attack took place has some parking garage entrances, but no retail businesses. But police were able to recover video from various businesses, residential, and police cameras in the wider area. A surveillance camera at the Subway shows Smollett at the restaurant, so we do know that he did go to Subway to get him a sandwich. So more than a dozen police detectives, some specializing in hate crimes, are working the case. They ask anyone who has information or witnessed the attack to call detectives at area code 312-747-8382 or submit an anonymous tip at cpdtip.com. So meanwhile, the letter that the FBI is investigating was sent on January 22nd to Fox and Empire offices, used threatening language towards Smollett, police said. The letter was laced with some type of white powdery substance, according to the spokesperson. A celebrity website, grapejuice.net, published a picture of the letter with the words, "You would die black, fag," written in letters apparently cut from magazines. Like, are people still doing this in 2019? So the FBI declined to comment on the case, as they always do. The FBI never speaks to the media about ongoing investigations. So Smollett's role as the gay son of a record company mogul in the Fox drama propelled him to fame. After it debuted 4 years ago, Smollett, who is gay, has been active in LGBTQARSTUV issues. Y'all know how I feel about them appropriating the alphabet, but LGBTQ issues. He also released his debut album, Some of My Music, last year, which I never heard of. I heard none of the music from it, so I can't tell you anything about it. And then Empire co-creator Lee Daniels voiced his disgust over the incident and his support for Smollett in an Instagram video, which, by the way, he took it upon himself to post a screenshot where he was FaceTiming Jussie while he was in the hospital. And then he screenshotted him in the bed, and then you can see like this one little laceration going across his face. And I mean, and to me, Jussie just looked really tired over the whole situation. And Daniels later deleted the image, the screenshot that he posted, because to me that was just being such an opportunist in that moment. And I just hate when people post hospital pics in the beginning. So to start with, like, stop posting pictures of your wristband in the hospital and of you laying in the hospital bed. There's just like no reason to be doing that. And so I think that Daniels was out of line by posting that picture, and Jussie probably saw it, or one of his representatives or family members probably contacted him and said, "Will you please take that down?" And so he posted.
It's taken me a minute to come to social media about this because, Jussie, you are my son. You didn't deserve, nor anybody deserves, to have a noose put around your neck, to have bleach thrown on you, to be called die, faggot, nigger, or whatever they said to you. You are better than that. We are better than that. America is better than that. It starts at home. It starts at home, yo. We have to love each other, regardless of what sexual orientation we are. Because it shows that we are united on a united front. And no racist fuck can come in and do the things that they did to you. Hold your head up, Jessie. I'm with you. I'll be there in a minute. It's just another fucking day in America.
So, 20th Century Fox issued a statement saying, "We send our love to Jussie, who is resilient and strong, and we will work with law enforcement to bring these perpetrators to justice. The entire studio network and production stands united in the face of any despicable act of violence and hate, and especially against one of our own." And then, y'all, 2020 Democratic presidential hopeful Miss Kamala Harris, she had to jump in and put her 2 cents in, says that she knows Smollett personally and called the attack outrageous and awful. He is one of the kindest, more gentle human beings I've ever met, Harris said on Tuesday.
Just want to say this to little brother Jesse, that as a black man in this country, that I'm down with you. And I know a lot of brothers that's down with you. This ain't about sexual preference or nothing. This is about coming to the aid of another brother that has tasted the brutality of hatred, racism, and bigotry. So we down with you, Jussie Smollett. However you want to handle this, we down with you. This is not a call for violence or anything, so don't misunderstand it. I just don't have all the words everybody else get. We down with you, soldier. We just want you to know that. Your OG is down with you. Man, we're going to pray for you, brother. Right on.
I will be in Chicago performing at the Pavilion Valentine's weekend. You cowards that jumped out on Jesse in Chicago, I'll be there performing in Chicago. I'm going to the same building. I'm going to walk out of the same building that Jesse did. I'm begging you, please jump out on me. Jump out on me with a loose. Whoever did it, please, if you on Instagram and you hear this, please jump out on me. I'll be in Chicago.
Jesse's the one that starts singing when everybody's in a bad mood. You know, he's the one that cheers everybody up. He's the one that does all the Instagrams if he catches you sleeping. You know, he's going to, today no one was caught sleeping. No one even took time to close their eyes and nap. They were all in shock that our family, the Fox family, the Empire family, the Lion family, was attacked by a bunch of hyenas today.
Hi, we are the 20th anniversary touring cast of the musical Rent. Every night, 8 times a week, we go on stage and we tell a story that involves people of all colors, all races, all sexual orientations, gender identities. And we hope to teach and inspire our audiences that you can love exactly who you are and exactly who the person is next to you, regardless of your differences. So this morning, I was shook, to say the least, when I learned that Jussie Smollett, an actor, was attacked in Chicago by people screaming "Make America Great Again" rhetoric, homophobic and racist slurs, and what was not a possible, but a definite, deliberate act of hatred. So this is just our open letter to America to remind you that despite who you are and despite some of the people who may disagree, you can be exactly who you want to be. We believe in you, we love you, we support you, and we hope that you do the same for yourself and for your community. To our lawmakers and law enforcers, we pray that you will take this and treat this as a true act of hatred and do everything to bring justice to all communities who experience things like this every day when they're not famous enough to make the news. To Jussie, we love you, we support you, we hope you get well soon. And to the attackers who believe this type of thing is okay, you will not scare us. We will continue to tell the story, we continue to love you and all those around us. Thank you.
That's enough. Everybody check your soul at the Super Bowl. That's enough. Take away their fun before they shoot your son. That's enough. Our ancestors ancestors kneeled in the cotton fields. That's enough. Whites, blacks, Jews, we've got to refuse. That's enough. Get a backbone before a bullet comes down on the back of your own. That's enough. Before another hate crime, be the gladiators of our time. You're the gladiators of our time. You want a standing ovation? Take a knee for the next generation.
Today, it's been over 24 hours since all of this happened, or since the story broke. And so they today are watching The Real. And so, of course, they had already recorded their Monday show before all of this hit the fan. So they were commenting today. And then I was kind of like, so they were showing their outrage and how upset they were that this had happened. And they were steady repeating these half-truths, even though the police report or the police had come out with their statements of what was actually said when they interviewed him. But still, the crew members of The Real still sat there repeating the stuff that had already been dispelled as not being true, or not being how the actual events went down. And so I'm thinking that Jussie, whatever happened, whatever he was out there in those streets doing in Chicago, in below zero temperatures in the middle of the night, whatever was going on, whatever happened to him, it sounds to me like he just wanted to get back to that apartment, take a shower, go to bed, and forget whatever it was happened. But the agent wouldn't let that be, and just forced him, to call the police and get the police involved. Probably called Lee Daniels and told other people, and now this thing has just blown up. So my question is, if this isn't exactly what happened and he was possibly out there doing whatever, like, I don't want to accuse him of things that other people are accusing him of, but trying to be a little realistic. But if he was out there doing something he shouldn't have been doing, or not necessarily that he shouldn't have been doing, but doing something that he's now embarrassed for the public to find out he was doing when whatever happened to him happened, should he just come clean? Should he lay low and just hope that this whole thing blow over? I think that it does a huge disservice to the public in general, for things to get sensationalized like this, and people to just run with stories and make these accusations only to find out that it may not have happened the way that you're saying that it happened. I think it's really telling that the police have not been able to uncover any video evidence of an assault, of anybody following him, of a car or anything, leaving the area of where he was at. And then, the police aren't really putting out a lot, because I'm thinking when they're saying that they can't find any video footage of the two assailants, do they know that, okay, this is the route Jussie said he took? So is there video footage of Jussie actually walking down the street in these areas? Or, because like they were saying that they're expanding the reach of the video that they're looking for. So should that lead us to believe that Jussie isn't on the video either, on this street that he said, what was that street he said he was at? So the subway was on McClurg Court, and then he said that he was attacked on East North Lower Water Street. So is there video of Jussie on East North Lower Water Street? Like, is the police expanding their video search, because Jussie wasn't on that video either on that street? So now they're trying to figure out what street he was on. I mean, it's just so much swirling around, and you don't want to come out, because obviously he experienced something that was traumatic to him. So you don't want to downplay that. But then also, you're thinking about all the police resources that are being expended right now chasing behind this story, that if the story isn't true, does Jussie owe it to the public to come forth now and to put a stop to this and say, okay, what I said happened didn't really happen? And then, just going back to the whole thing of with Uber Eats, and all these other food delivery services, why would a celebrity or anybody for that matter go out after midnight to go, like, what is they selling at the Subway? Like, you got to have some serious munchies to get up after midnight, below zero temperatures, and go to Subway and walk to Subway to get something to eat. And like, what is the distance between the agent's apartment and the Subway? Like, what is the distance? Is it a short distance? Is it a realistic distance for somebody to be walking after midnight? And then did he eat at the Subway? Like, why was he gone for almost 2 hours on this little run to Subway? It's just so many unanswered questions, and for people to just be out there running with this this homophobic, racist, this is happening in 2019, and just to be running with that narrative. And then somebody even had the nerve to compare this to Emmett Till. And I'm just like, no, we can't compare this to Emmett Till. Let's not even go down that road. Like, this is totally different. Let's not even go there. So I don't know, guys, just wanted to come with this video. Like I said, I didn't cover the Jasmine Island thing, because people get real sensitive about, rape and sexual assault, but even when I was like first following that story, in my mind I'm saying, okay, this don't make too much sense to me. But if everybody wants to fall behind her and say, this happened, this happened, this happened, then I'm just gonna stand down. But now, as the days have gone on, and it has just, everybody's coming forth with what really happened in the club, and then we have to keep going back to the fact that she at no point has ever said that she was raped that night in the club. It kind of just like, are people just going to keep coming up with these stories to the point where people are going to stop listening and stop caring, because now you don't know who to believe, who to trust? Like, if it's one thing to have this girl that nobody knows in the club saying that this happened to her, and the whole event be kind of skeptical. Now you have a star, a television star, who's caught up in a story that people are now questioning. So what does that just do to the whole credibility of the media? They're trying like to be sensitive and not come out and say, okay, this thing is looking kind of suspect to us. They've got to follow the narrative that's out there, because they don't want to offend the people that's following the story. And then, you guys know, in my last R. Kelly video, I talked about how these stories get started and how they get pushed out there to people, and then people just jump on it and gravitate because that's the popular thing being said on social media. So that's it for me. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys think about this situation. Do you believe all this and I can't even say that Jussie is saying that this happened. Are you believing the social media version of what happened that night? Do you think something actually happened to him that was, like, I believe something happened to him that he either is embarrassed about or that he was harmful to him. I just don't think it happened in the way that social media is putting it out there. So leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye bye.